Welcome to another episode of B2B Marketing Futures, the podcast for B2B marketers sponsored by AdSact, the B2B ad platform. Today, we are diving into a question that's on every marketer's mind. Can AI replace the marketer? As AI becomes part of the marketing workflow, from content and targeting to measurement, to monetization and campaign execution, the role of the marketer is being redefined in real time. In this episode, we are joined by a great panel of marketing leaders who are experiencing this shift firsthand. But before we jump into the conversation, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves and share a bit about your role and your current focus.
Yes. Hi, Amelia Taylor. I am in Tampa, Florida. I am heading up the global campaigns here at ConnectWise, which is a large cybersecurity company.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bianca, welcome.
Hello, I'm Bianca. I'm the channel marketing manager for NICE, which is a contact center company. My focus is to work directly with our partners across the EMEA region. So nice to be here.
Welcome. Sav, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Khetan. I'm VP of Product Marketing at Tealium. Tealium is a CDP platform, a data management platform, real-time platform. In fact, Bianca, we're trying to figure out a relationship with NICE right now. So nice to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ruslan, welcome.
Hey, everyone. Ruslan Tovbulatov here, Rus for short. I run the marketing team, CMO, at a company called Gloat. It's a Series D company with Excel-backed. With offices in New York and Israel and around the world, actually. So I run the marketing team globally. And yeah, excited to talk about this topic. So
thank you so much, Ruslan. Katie, welcome.
Hi, my name is Katie Kukwa, and I am part of DSM-Firmenich. I'm actually part of the biomedical division, and I head up global digital marketing and external communications for this team.
Thank you so much. And Emanuela, welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Emanuela Cecchetti, VP of Global Marketing at ShippyPro. ShippyPro is the leading logistic platform that helps enterprise to streamline, optimize, and scale their the global shipping operations. And I'm responsible for the global brand communications and growth strategy.
Well, thank you so much for those great introductions. You have already anticipated a little bit that AI has changed the way you go to market, but let's give a quick understanding to our audience how AI has impacted your work.
Well, I can start because, for instance, AI has shifted my approach from manual execution to a more strategic orchestration, for instance. So I don't spend time on tasks anymore, like, copywriting or anything like that, because it can help me build a white paper in a matter of minutes versus hours and hours of doing that through a lot of research or actually putting my words into practice, because I'm not a native English speaker. So for me, it was even worse. What I can tell you that I think that my philosophy here is I spend less time doing marketing and more time leading marketing. So I feel that actually this helped marketeers to improve where they use their time in order to be more accurate on their work.
That's
I echo that, actually. And because we're, with us being so new and being so agile in the AI use, it's not just the way that we're seeing greater reliance on ChatGPT and other programs to help alleviate functions or even the needs for agency resources, but it's also changed the way that we know that we're being searched for, the way that we show up on Google, the way that people learn about you as a whole online. And it's forced our teams to be a bit more dynamic and strategic in a lot of ways as well. I've seen some organizations take a very reactive approach. I've seen employers that I've worked for as well who saw the writing on the wall 5 years ago and started to lay the foundation with Google even then. And while their initial numbers for their website and their content search took a hit, they are now considered some of the best practices and trendsetters in the geo industry. So there's a lot of potential as well, and a lot that's come from this.
I also think not only accelerate execution, which is huge for us as well, but also improve the way we understand our audience. We can analyze very quickly behavioral insights, industry content, understanding what are the preferences of our audience, and then personalize content, personalize emails, and go direct and try at the end to convert better people. Also, I found a very good help in analysis and measurement and the channel attribution. So how each marketing channel is performing, finding insights, finding KPIs, and take down more informed decisions.
For me, I would say, so when OpenAI opened their floodgates, right, November 2022, and GPT shows up, everyone's reactive as can be. And it's like, what do we do? And we just go. And like the market's moving and everyone's like, so go, go, go. And everyone's not being proactive. It's more of a reactive approach. And so I think at the time I was working for a company that was a AI platform. I mean, it was AI for sales. That was literally what it was. So I was sitting in this evangelist kind of position, which I think everyone should be your internal and external evangelist. But for me, when it came to the marketing side of things, it really didn't change what I believed about marketing. It gave me more of the operational efficiency to do the right things consistently. So being able to actually be consistent with what I was doing and then iterating upon what it was that was working and not working. So the process of elimination became something that was vital for success in order to move forward, knowing we can do things faster, better, smarter with removing these bottlenecks that are going to prevent us from having good marketing even happening. So, you're spending more time with the market instead of the mechanics, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with everything you guys have said. And we're seeing one of the areas that we have unlocked, I think, more is that two things. One is, if we do a customer call and we have the whole transcript, very easy to now convert that into a blog post, into a social post, into different formats. So that's become a really big unlock. And I think that used to take a lot of time before. And the other thing that's happening is we've automated customer intelligence coming into the company. So let's say we have 80 calls with customers yesterday from all our different reps. They're all recorded. And then we'll get one email in the next morning with summaries of every single call in that email and a sentiment rating and which issue or which product they were talking about. So it's instantly become this aligning email that we can all rally around, and we know where the trends are way before we used to find out, earlier. I feel like, somebody mentioned analysis. I think, Emanuela, I think it's making it much easier for us to understand all this volume of information that comes into the company. But it took about a year to automate that. Those unlocks have been very powerful, in addition to all the stuff you guys were saying.
In the spirit of conversation, I'm actually curious, Sev, what tools are you using to do some of that? And Emanuela, I'd love to ask you as well, because I think the analysis piece is some of the most interesting work that we're doing as well. But there's obviously limits to what different technologies can do. I'm curious, what has been your unlock? What tech are you using?
So for the agent, we're using N8N, and nice. For the actual conversion of the so we have a tool that records the conversation, and that's Clary. And then Clary has an API with Copy AI. So Clary sends the transcripts to Copy AI. It took a long time for us to convert each call into a conversational intelligence block in Salesforce. So first we did that. Once that was standardized, which took a little while, now then we have a second N8N agent running that's taking all those conversational blocks and converting them into that email summary. And now that we've got that workflow going, just yesterday they showed us that they're able to pull out now use cases from these calls. They're able to pull out specific requests, topics from these calls. So for me, product marketing, I want to know which products are you talking about? What questions did you ask that we are not able to address? So now it's become this almost backlog of content that I can create based on that. And it's so that first agent was the tricky one. Once we got that working, then all the others are slowly coming online.
And regarding analysis, to reply to the question on the analysis, we are using different tools, starting from ChatGPT. We have the paid version, and we created some custom agent customized for us. And also there are some plugins to analyze Excel file, very big data, and summarize very quickly in some. And we are using HubSpot. HubSpot is helping us. There's a lot of new features released in the last years, and that helps a lot to have better dashboards, better analysis, and go in depth when we need, or stay on top when we have to see, let's say, the overall picture and analyze KPIs.
And Sab, have you come to the point of predicting pipeline using that combination of Clary and HubSpot? Some people, I've heard that actually you can predict pipeline because you are listening to sales conversations, and you can, instead of just guessing what what pipeline will be next month and the likelihood to close deals, you can actually do it like in a more scientific way. I don't know if you came to that point yet.
Yeah, we actually did that first. So Clary has this tool, Copilot, and then it has another tool, which is Pulse and Dashboard. So when we first installed Clary 2 years ago, we had to do a lot of work on making sure that the pipeline hygiene was really good. So there's a very rigorous process that our CRO put in place of evaluating how every lead is, every opportunity is scored, how they are actually rating the opportunities. And once that happened, Clary has actually been projecting our close forecast for, it'll project 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 1 year. And it's been very accurate, actually. Even we'll be on a call and the RVP will say he thinks this is closing and Clary will say something else. And we'll see almost always we end up with the Clary number. So at least 1 quarter out, it's fantastic. 1 year out, there's a lot of things you can change, but 1 quarter out, it's been very accurate. So we started doing that first. And then that helped us have a very different strategy for go-to-market this year. We've been trying a lot of tools. I was talking about Copy AI, but we use a lot of OpenAI also. And the other thing we found is all the different tools have very big restrictions with how much the API can be used with on the Gen AI side. So we had to renegotiate with Slack. We had to renegotiate with HighSpot. We had to go renegotiate with everybody to get those APIs available.
Mm-hmm. I would add to that one, Perplexity has been a huge part of what I've been trying to build over here when it comes to keeping a lot of the motion that we're doing current and integrating Gong into that and having it be where those things, those are great tools to be able to use. And then, there's Claude if you need something that's going to be more long form, that's going to be way more ingrained. And then there's Smart Lead, which has been a game changer, but there are restrictions and guardrails up within companies, right? So there are certain things that you can do and can't do. I found myself doing things on my phone or whatever, and then I'm sending it to myself to my work email here just because the world's still trying to figure out how exactly to go about doing this. So we could talk about it, but without the, how to, which are like the 2 top words ever searched on Google or on YouTube, right? So like how to are the top 2 things ever put into YouTube. So without the how to do it, it's so easy to talk about without actually having but here's what we're doing. How to do it. Okay, we're using. And so that was an awesome way to share what you're actually leveraging. It's a great question there. So just a little shout out for the great question, great answer.
Ruslan, what about you? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so I think I love some of the words you all used, and I'll start with where Bianca started, which is orchestration is the word for me of the year, probably the next maybe decade. And I actually retitled my whole team, myself included, to be Chief Marketing Orchestrator because I realized that one of the biggest issues right now with AI is just mindset. And so I've kind of been focused on the change management piece of all of this. And so resetting the expectations by retitling people was step one. And there it was just sending this message where you're no longer an individual contributor. That's not my expectation of you. I expect much more. You need to be what we call an exponential contributor. And the idea there is that every single individual is now supercharged by an army of AI around them. And so it's actually been an interesting thing where I think the whole market, some people are really getting it, some employees are really getting it, and others aren't, where I actually think we're going to have to rethink all of our workflows. The idea of a job title and a job is going to go away. It's going to have a lot of resistance because every technology is built on the job. Every HR system is built on a job. But the only way to make an AI SDR work, for example, is to realize that you cannot replace everything a human does, but you certainly can replace a big percentage of the tasks and workflows. So that's the journey we've been on. And that's why I took Sev, I liked what you were talking about because my job as CMO has been to basically go one by one in each function and figure out what are the tasks and workflows we can actually first automate, but eventually, and that's to me is the cost cutting efficiency piece. That's step 1. 2, though, is the augmentation and doing things we've never been able to do before. That's why I loved where you were going with Emanuela and Sav, where, we do win-loss interviews, but we do like 5 or 10 at a time. With an age of AI, you can now do like 100. That to me is augmentation. You can do 1,000. You can scan every single conversation The challenge is context windows and API limits. So that's why I was curious. N8N, I think, is the answer, but I still run into context window limits. But then you go, reporting, kind of what can we do on reporting we've never been able to do before? I think one of you mentioned the buyer persona and copy testing and like literally focus groups and synthetic audiences. We're starting to dabble in all of that. I think where I'm trying to be very realistic is what can and can't be done with the current technology limitations. So I try to set a very big vision, but then try to go deep really quickly to figure out what the actual limits are. So happy to go into more depth on the different functions, but I really appreciated some of that insight.
I found having a SWAT team, if you will, in certain departments, since I kind of liaison between demand gen, marketing, sales, and having kind of my go-to people globally, that if I have those individuals who I can go test and iterate and figure out what's working, what's not with, is such a valuable thing. The people who are operators by nature, or that they get it at another level of they're a strategist when it comes to how operationally efficient things can be done. They've tested things and they understand what the use case for specific tools too that can be put into place. I think that's the common goal should all be across the board in companies, but like, let's be real. Like, we all are going like this at times, and it's not always going to be that. But what's influencing pipeline? What's actually driving the awareness? What's making us get to to the point earlier of being where the market is? You're the top one in the market. You're the one being talked about the most, and driving that piece of awareness and engagement in the highest level of it being where you don't sound robotic. You don't sound like you've got the double dashes, which like put that in your memory, people, within your GPT instance. Like that needs to be something like we all know when you get the double dash, you are automating something 100%. So there's little things like that are like, all right, if we can train people to do the right things by having kind of a SWAT team to prove out what works, what doesn't work. That's the thing that I found to be extremely helpful with streamlining things to get things actually done. And I'm not having to bear the whole burden of trying to figure it out by way of all these different, multiple teams and me trying to be the change agent here.
Yeah, I love the SWAT example because most of the things that you've mentioned, I think if you remove AI from the equation, are still super valid. Like imagine any digital transformation project that your organizations probably had in the past. Without AI, probably are quite similar to the things that you're describing today. A lot of sales and marketing alignment, a lot of understanding the processes, having clean data. And on top of that, if you put AI, then your organization flies. But if you don't have those basic things that we will cover in a second, of course, it's way harder and you will get probably a lot of M dashes in everything you do.
What are they called? They're not double. I just call them double dashes. What are they called?
M dashes.
Dashes. Yeah.
I never knew that. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Does anyone know where they have it on their keyboard? Because I don't. And that's the first time I see whenever something is written like that.
Yeah.
It's such a pain point for me. I am a big writer and I have used the M dash for years very effectively. So I'm actually very mad at OpenAI for taking away a key component of my writing.
Yeah. Apparently Shakespeare loved the M dashes, so that's why all the LLMs love using them.
I'll do like the small dash, just so I can still do it, but there's a break in between whatever the small dash is called. I don't know. A dash, I don't know. Whatever they call
commas or whatever. Yes, commas. Well, thank you so much. That's a great overview. And let's build on that by looking at the classic tension in B2B, which is long-term demand creation versus short-term pipeline generation or demand capture. And historically, how have you balanced creation and capture, and how are AI and personalization at scale influencing that balance today?
I'm happy to start where I spend a lot of time thinking about this, obviously from my seat, because I have to align the whole team to different goals. The way I see it is there's 4 components, I think, as a CMO I care about, and it's brand, demand, band, and then all of that is enabled by field command in B2B. And so when I think about, I probably don't have to describe those, brand and demand, which we'll get to in a second, kind of I'll talk to in depth. Expand, which I think is increasingly more important in today's world, is everything related to net revenue retention, customer marketing, expanding existing clients. And I think marketing should play an increasing role in that. The product should also be very involved in that. And that needs to be a big, strong partnership. And then field command, of course, is everything around product marketing and really understanding how things are progressing through deal stages. Is the messaging cutting through, et cetera. On the brand and demand side, I think actually the modern marketing has misnamed demand, because in reality and where they think about demand creation, I think demand as it's been kind of pigeonholed these days is actually just demand capture and conversion. That's for the 5% of people that are in market, and you absolutely have to win that. And so every CMO has to step in, has to not create net new pipeline, like not create new generation. It's like figure out who's in market today for something and convert those 5% at a very, very high win rate. The hard part of marketing to me, and this is my origins from where I started working with CPG brands and then Google and YouTube, the hard part is actual creation of demand. And that happens to me in what we call brand nowadays, which is a compelling story, a compelling vision, creating a vision for the world that might not exist and connecting inherent human needs to your product. And that I think is the fun part. And that is the 95% of people that are currently not in market, which primes everyone to convert when they are ready to be in market. So I absolutely think demand capture and conversion, it's absolutely critical. It's what keeps a CMO's job. But the other stuff, brand and also expand and field command, are equally important, if not more important, for creating long-lasting companies.
Yeah, all in all, the demand creation is going to be the influencing future revenue, right? And it's going to be where you have to build that belief. You've got to shape the actual point of view of what you're doing. You've got to challenge the assumptions of what people know and don't know. And then, like you were saying, create that emotional readiness for people too. So there's so much that has to go into that. And it's right now, we all know this, and we talked about SaaS being harder than ever right now to get through to people and buyers in any capacity to get through to, because they're going to go find answers long before we're going to go deliver them, right? So it's where there's a brand that they trust, and they trust long before they're in market, because there's people who are talking, there's external evangelists, so on and so forth. I would categorize that really as the demand creation, building that influence. Then to demand capture is going to be converting that demand. So knowing that you created it, great. Then you've got to convert it, but then you got to capture it. So it's the reverse engineering a little bit there with what it is, but knowing that you can go in and actually remove this friction based off of what people already have assumptions about, from the demand creation, and making it easy for buyers. That's the goal. Just make it easy. People want it easy. How do I plug and play this? Awesome. Are you going to help me? Bottom line, top line, are things going to be better for me? And when you know that, there's the two motions that can go together, opposed to them historically being two separate motions. I think that that's where we're at right now, where we can actually have things be at its core grouped together and moving things with existing and net new pipeline and a forward motion, getting on the same page.
It isn't that where effective customer lifecycle management also comes in. You can utilize AI so you have that infinity loop that's constantly going, because ultimately, for us, like I had said, we're in our infancy in a lot of ways in utilizing these tools, just because of some of the challenges of coming from a merger and some of the technology limitations that we've had on our end. But we're meeting our core personas at the very beginning through education, because it plays such a critical role in how we meet the needs and how we interact with our customers long before they're ready to make a decision in the buying process. But then on the other side of that infinity piece is, okay, we have customers who have been our customers for 15 years. How do we continue to nurture those relationships and educate them that we're more than just the one product that we've already offered them? And so I think it's closing the loop consistently, have those conversations, and how does AI fill those gaps, and nurturing them from being the end customer that you've already captured into identifying those new problems as well.
It feels like we all have such similar problems, all from just different angles. Joaquin, you asked about the balance. I find that the quarter makes a very big difference on the appetite that leadership has of letting brand things happen. So if we have a couple of bad quarters and then we'll do an event, all they want to do from the event is look at how many leads came out of the event. We're like, well, that's not what the event was for. But they don't have that part of the brain shuts off the minute we have a tough road ahead of us. I've been finding that we kind of flip flop, right? So like you were saying, I love the four categories you said. So I feel like expand and field command are the two that we don't compromise on, just because we have these people in our pipeline. We have, we got to be very diligent about those. But the brand and demand, I feel, flip-flops depending on how our business is performing and whether our competitor launched something that suddenly changed the market. Those have been levers that I've not been able to get ahead of as much as I would like. But I think that that's kind of where we started to talk to people, that we got to do both. And you got to let us, we are starting to have that conversation early on, that we're going to do these three things, events primarily, and they're going to be for brand and for forward-looking demand, not in creation, but influence maybe. And you got to let us not measure those by leads, because that might not drive leads. And I feel like if they don't actually deliver results in 2 or 3 quarters, then we won't get that budget again next year, but we're going to still try it. So I find I used to deal with this in digital marketing in my previous life. Just because you can measure something doesn't mean that's what's working, So it's kind of like, that's the challenge I feel that we have to struggle with.
Yeah.
That's a great
I feel
point
the
right there.
same. And you said something that sometimes happen also to me, not easy to balance between long-term activities that build authority, build a brand, and create the demand creation, with short-term activity that create leads. And at the end of the day, we have to report on how many leads, how many SQLs, how many opportunities, the pipeline. So not easy to balance. But I strongly believe that if you don't have the brand, the authority will not gather, will arrive to the, let's say, leads results and pipeline results. So our job is also to, let's say, talk to the leaders and let them know how it's important also to balance between long-term activities, not only care about today's leads, but build trust, build relevance in the market, create a brand that make the difference and that is different from the other competition, create the values that at the end will create the leaders on the market. Otherwise, we will not get there.
I think it's so easy to say that too, though, right? To have the conversations, but to actually go into a room and sit at the table with the executives and say, here's what we're going to do, and here's why, and here's the end result, and here's the goal. It is great and easy to say, but like when you get to the table and you're looking at these executives and saying, here's what we're going to try to do, and here's what we're going to do. So if there's not the end goal of, if this doesn't work in this amount of time, then we're going to pivot and have 2 other things, right? Like, here's other things that we're going to be doing just to show momentum. And then also come with like some of the data points that are going to show of what you've already been doing. So that's where I kind of go back into this whole SWAT team idea of, they're gathering data that I can bring to the table, say, this is why we're going to move forward with this and why I have firm belief in it, because here's where we were last quarter, here's where we are now, and you leave it up to them. So without, data talks, numbers speak. So without having those things, and, AI is a tool for all of this, right? But then brand is going to be the differentiator in all of it. So proving that the brand is going to move forward with what's been created in the market and the exposure that you're getting, and the, to your point, that was made earlier, of having the customers that you have, those being your biggest, salespeople not on payroll. Those are the people who are out there in the wild talking to other people, being like, got a tool for you. This is the one that you need. So I think that kind of flows into this influencer marketing idea of like, how do you do that? And that maybe that's a whole other topic. I don't know. But we see a lot of people pushing influencer marketing out. But how do you do that with AI being something that is going to be on your side where it doesn't sound so generated?
Making a lot more boards even more comfortable with the idea of brand. If you follow what's happening, the discussion around Lovable, Claude, like every company that's breaking out right now, the reality is that tools that we're now using to do all these tactical things, the way they favor a product is not based on demand tactics. They're actually based on community, authority, experience, like what other people are saying. So that's why Reddit and YouTube continue getting cited, right, as top sources. So all of these tactics that have traditionally been pigeonholed into brand are actually now really seen as pipeline and performance drivers, because they're what's creating the first result on an LLM. So I actually think, we talked about this, Joaquin, where I'm still formulating some of the language around this, but I think marketing has gotten into this weird place with digital, where like when I was growing up in marketing, it was the 4 Ps of marketing were tied to every CMO and even brand manager. You think about CPG, you weren't running TV campaigns to like create a beautiful spot. Like you were measuring GRPs and then correlating that to sales at the shelf. And you would do couponing to accelerate sales, but we almost like made digital marketing all about the couponing portion. And we forgot about everything else. Like a good marketing team is doing pricing, positioning, and packaging, right? And the 4 Ps, I think, are where we almost need to go back to, including informing product. And so the same way with brand, it's somehow seen right now or being discussed as this other thing, but like brand is directly correlated to pipeline generation for me. And so I agree completely with what you're saying, Amelia, and like everyone's like, you have to come to the conversation with other executives and the board and manage those expectations. But part of it, I think, is a disservice where a lot of investors and other executives have been for years now talking about brand in a way that I don't think it was ever intended to be. Okay. So I think we're all saying similar things, but I think we got to almost re-educate the market and some of the terminology and language to make it easier for ourselves.
I learned that there's 5 different generations in the workforce that are all working together right now. And like literally different languages being spoken. Yes. I mean, I hear my daughters talk and I'm like, what are you saying? Like they're, 9 and 11. And I'm like, I don't know these words you are speaking. Like today on their school's like Instagram, it said like happy 6-7 day of school, like because it's the 67th day of school apparently. And I'm like, the school's even partaking. What are we doing? So there's things that I hear them. So if there's 5 generations trying to speak, there's that older wisdom, right? That has like that foundational aspects of things. But there's education that has to be done on change is inevitable. If you want to keep up, you got to change. Like change is a good thing. It's a good thing and it's a must. Like if you want to be mediocre, cool. You're not going to make it in the market. Somebody's going to surpass you and there's going to be some kid right out of college, maybe not, maybe out of high school. We don't know. Who literally is going to be like, I can spin up this because I grew up with a tablet in my hand. I know exactly how to build my own LLM. Like those sort of things that are like, okay, well, showing that if you can speak, if someone can go in and speak these, not literal, but like figuratively, all the above different languages across the different departments. I think that is so vital right now and being able to have communication because it really boils down to everyone being able to speak in this, which is so easy. Again, it's so easy to say, so freaking hard to do. Don't know who's tackled this and whoever's mastered it, please like come reach out to me. I want to understand like what kind of magician you are, but being able to capture what it is that's needed and repurposing what we've created brand to be in the market and internally in the workforce, there's got to be some layer to that of where the communication comes in and who's doing it and who's the grown up in the room that stands up that tries to make everyone be able to speak in the same language. Get on that 6-7 level,
Yeah, I think there is so much education that we need to do with our executives in our organizations, right? I'm thinking how many B2B brands have like a dream marketing team or a dream marketing budget. For example, I come from a B2C background and I used to work for a small winery in Chile. Not that small. In the winery space is quite big. However, imagine a wine brand that had a sponsorship of Manchester United, one of the largest football clubs in the world. We were recording TV spots with Cristiano Ronaldo once a year, and a part of that, we were recording another huge TV spot. And this is a very small winery in Chile. Like how many B2B brands can say the same? Either you are Salesforce and you are recording with Matthew McConaughey, or you are doing just community marketing on YouTube. The gap is so huge. And of course we need to do, I think we have a common ground here that demand capture alone is not enough, right? We need to create demand and we need to create a brand. And I would love to keep talking about that. Like how important you think is building a brand and how we can do it.
I would love to hear Bianca's take on this because I haven't heard in a second, but I'll just quickly share on that because I think Amelia asked the question. I think I've been lucky enough to now, I came from big companies like YouTube and Google, and then I've been a CMO twice now, and I've gotten a disproportionate amount of money spent on things around brand. But it's because I explicitly say what brand is not to me. Brand is not the logo and some colors. Those are factors of a brand, but that is not what matters to me. It's actually positioning. It's actually being seen as what is the vision of the company so that people want to align to the vision. what is the expertise you're bringing to the market, right? It's like all the positioning elements are, to me, the brand, the story, and then all these new things that everyone's talking about, like founder-led brand and activating employees and ecosystem and community. Those, to me, are brand activities. So it may be others would call them differently, but for me, that's very different than running a really good LinkedIn ad strategy and, Google and SEO and AEO and GEO and whatever new growth tactics will emerge. And so I think by positioning it that way, we've always overinvested in that because we knew those were the things that are going to make everything better. And they were also pipeline generating. And to that point, I think smaller brands can do things that are really interesting. Like one of the things I was really proud of, we have a big base in New York, but the founding team was in Israel. And so I'm based in New York. So I said, I'm going to go all in on the things we can do in New York. And so fast forward, I got Ariana Huffington on our board. She didn't know who the company was, but I was connected to her. So now she's on the board, first board that she took on since Uber. So we created press around that. Now, because we have Ariana involved, we got involved with the city of New York. So we were starting to work with the New York mayoral team, including the mayor of New York who came to our conference. And so the amazing thing was, even though we're selling to these chief talent officers and a lot of HR people, we've been able to give them these stages in front of, and Ariana Huffington and the mayor of New York and all these things that were really special because we do have the budgets to do that. And so whenever I try to show up, whether it's at a Vegas conference or, we will rent out a suite and get the keynote speaker and invite people that would never, ever have the chance to have that conversation with them. And for me, that is almost more important and lasting from a brand and storytelling perspective, company perspective. You can call that brand, but what does that do? It creates customer loyalty that then creates the funnel and flywheel Katie was talking about, that creates more pipeline and a referenceable customer that creates other customers. So I do think it's possible to tie it directly back to the bottom line and revenue, but you do need the right narrative and positioning, and you need to keep selling that idea, I think, internally.
And people are more inclined to say yes when you position things right, when you go to present certain things. It's pretty wild, the rooms that I found myself in, that I'm thinking, what am I doing? But also at the same time, okay, let's not downgrade my value, right? So trying to speak kindly to myself, but at the same time thinking, I just made the ask. I just went straight for the kill shot sort of thing, because if you don't, then it's a no. So going back to my background being heavily in sales, it's my thought process always being you don't do anything about it. You're never going to know what's going to happen from it. So I think riding the coattails of big events that happen too. So if there's Dreamforce, if there's, what's it called? Inbound, like all of those. And then you go and you figure out, okay, who are the right people who should be in this room? And let's do some, suite or not just a happy hour, but something that's going to be a more of an experience that people can have where they take that back with them, be memorable. And whatever you're doing, and Katie, I think this is I think that you're just taking notes galore, which I think is amazing right now. I'm watching you. I think you're just writing and I love it because there was so much value in what he just shared of how to position the brand, of it not just being the aesthetics, of it being so much more than that. Budget, no budget. There's bootstrap companies that I'm seeing doing crazy well with how they're positioning themselves in the market because of who knows who knows who. So call it nearbound, if you will, going around who's the customers that you have or who are the people that know someone that knows someone. And then writing that messaging of, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's why I want to get in touch with this person. Here's what I'm trying to do long term. People are more inclined to say yes when there is the vision that's given to them. Also, hey, love an intro. I'm going to write it for you. Put in your words. It's my big take on intros, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And now coming back to the AI topic, if AI can execute so much of what marketers and agencies used to do, what will a brand mean when AI platforms, not humans, mediate most discovery and interaction? I'm interested in how each of you sees the role of brand identity, the trust, emotional resonance when automation takes over everything over the mechanics,
Well, I think that AI can automate execution, but definitely it cannot replace trust, emotion, identity. So you need to identify with something in order to actually feel something for the brand, feel something for what's happening in a competitive market like CX, where I work right now, where every competitor uses AI. The brand outcomes becomes the most important thing. So that's why we, because I'm working in channel marketing, we amplify our message through our channel, through our partners, because it's very difficult to do it by yourself, even though we are a big company. So that's why we base our brand on being a trusted brand by our channel. So that's why we have our advocates in the market, not only on the AI front. Brand becomes basically the anchor in an AI saturated world. Definitely, we are not going to die, and definitely the brand isn't always about execution or automation. It's about how you feel about the brand, how you express yourself using the brand, and what it stands for, what is the background the customers and partners can rely on. AI can help optimize journeys, but it cannot create a movement around a purpose, a mindset shift, or a sense of belonging. So definitely this is still with us, with humans. So I'm not scared about it, 100%.
I agree with that, Bianca. Good stories, good marketing resonates, and they make human connections. And so for us too, education and driving science-based content in the hows and the whys of how it's ultimately going to problem solve for our customers or the potential customers, like that's always going to be the name of the game. And while I think like there's platforms that we even have in-house right now that like a play, like a video, like a Jasper and all of those things that we can put guardrails up so that we can help the team write this content more efficiently and effectively. It doesn't negate the need that, okay, it can get you 85% of the way there, but it's always going to be lacking that human emotion because AI is never going to have empathy or compassion in the way that a human will. It's never going to be able to emote or convey that effectively in a piece that's going to resonate.
And also you buy from a person rather than you buy from a brand. So definitely that human element will always be there and very important in any pipeline or any company. I'm sure of it.
You know, one other thing is that all these LLMs are all pattern matching, right? They all do the same pattern. So as I'm seeing the same industry using LLMs to do content, the content is starting to look similar and very soon it'll all start to look the same. So then what's the difference? The difference is the brand, right? The difference is the brand promise. The difference is the experience that brand does not want to compromise. So AI might be an aspect of how you engage with that brand, but if that brand really cares about their own ethos, they're not going to let that experience go away. And that I think will start to matter more and more. We've seen it in everything, right? Coffee, for example, now that Starbucks just became everywhere, the gourmet coffee shops are becoming more expensive again because people look for that experience. I think same thing with cars, same thing with, clothes. I think once content and experiences are all automated, brand will just rise back to the top, I think. And it's already, you can see it mattering more and more. And, I don't think humans go away for a while, at least.
Yeah. And coming back to the 4Ps, the marketing mix framework, Ruslan, I think the product, you still need a clear problem to solve. The price required, the positioning, understanding the value, the competitive position, the place still depends on knowing where the customers are, and promotion starts with a compelling narrative. So that's definitely not a machine generated output. Thank you so much for today's conversation. It's been a great conversation. For all the ones listening, please don't forget to subscribe to keep hearing great stories about B2B marketing. Thank you so much.